Hey guys, welcome back to the AJ Analysis channel, where today I am going to tell you guys how Manchester United can have kind of a fresh start after the international break by getting a win against Brighton in the Premier League. We know it's going to be a difficult game, but I have the solution on how Manchester United can win this football match. But before we get into that, I need a favour from you guys. Subscribe to the channel. Pretty simple, right? Subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the video because it massively helps the channel. I really appreciate all your support. The growth recently has kind of slowed down a little bit and I really want to get to 20k as soon as possible. So please, just take a second to subscribe. Like, go do it now. Now. If you haven't done it yet, do it. Go press subscribe because it really does help the channel. But let's get into the tactics, because like I've said already, I genuinely believe United can win this game. Brighton arguably come in as favourites, but I think Manchester United have a very good opportunity to win this game, so let's discuss how they can do it. Now, the first thing you will notice is my Manchester United starting 11 here. I'll be completely honest, we have no idea who is fit and available. Is Lisandro Martinez fit? Varane? Amrabat? We don't know. We're not too sure on what the starting 11 could be. I mean, obvious changes would be someone like Lindelof to come into the defence or Eriksen for Amrabat. Is Mason Mount fit and available? We just don't know. But anyway, let's focus more on the tactical side of things and structure and things like that rather than personnel. And the big message for me to Manchester United in this game, like we've seen a few times already this season, is do not press high. The reason for that is because Brighton are the masters of playing out from the back. They draw you onto them, they make you think that you can come get the ball off them, and then suddenly they play a quick pass here, a set-off pass here, and then another through ball, and then a through onto your back line, and they tear you to shreds. Brighton are very good at this. So if I was United, how do you stop that from happening? You can have the ball at the back, mate. We're not too bothered about pressing you in these areas. That would be my approach in this particular match. Sit off a little bit deeper. You're still in a mid-block. You're not dropping all the way back into your defence. Still hold a high defensive line like this, but we don't need to go all the way to pressing super high. As a result, it does mean that when Brighton play the ball up from the back, they will look to take control of possession for decent phases, and that's fine. United will have their fair share of possession, as we'll see later. When Brighton are looking to build the ball, initially it will look like a 2-4 shape. However, actually what they're doing this season is quickly changing to more of a 2-3 shape. Like this. Pascal Gross moves a little bit further forward in midfield, Danny Welbeck drops off a little bit, Ferguson's up front, Matoma and March out wide, Gilmour the holding midfielder, and the two fullbacks are going to invert. Now, what is the best solution for United to match up against this? It's to go with a narrow 4-2-3-1 shape like this. Now, the plan here is again for Rasmus Højlund and Eriksen not to be overly aggressive in their press, although perhaps they could use a piston press. A press where, when Van Heck has it, Højlund presses, the ball goes across here, we then see Eriksen step out, Højlund drop in, something like that. That could work for United, but I wouldn't worry about being too aggressive. Instead, I would be looking more to sit off and stop the ball being progressed. Importantly, also in this area, United need to track the runs of the likes of Ferguson, Welbeck and Pascal Gross as well in these areas. Now, Casemiro could tie up Pascal Gross in this area. Could Amrabat follow Welbeck, get Lisandro Martinez super tight on Evan Ferguson, and then have Varane as the sweeper? That's a plan. I really like it. The idea also is that your wingers are nice and narrow and compact, following Estupiñán into these areas, following Veltman into these areas. These are really important battles. The two United wingers will have an important defensive job, but this is the sort of thing that I would be going for. We've got Wan-Bissaka in the side at right back, mainly being his ability to deal with Matoma. Matoma is one of the best 1-versus-1 dribblers in Europe at the moment, so good at getting the ball forward. How do you stop him? Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Quite an obvious solution. It's not particularly big brain by me, it just seems pretty obvious. You play your best 1-versus-1 defender against one of the best 1-versus-1 dribblers, and it kind of stumps Brighton's build-up play, their progression play. In this way, I think United can have a lot of success. I think Brighton could genuinely find it quite difficult to progress the ball if United are initially passive in a mid-block, but then aggressive as the ball comes into these areas, into feet, get someone aggressive, keep Varane and also Onana kind of sweeping up behind the rest of the defence in case we get a runner like this. But yeah, I think if United are compact in a mid-block and aggressive in these areas, they could have a lot of success. And this is where United can then turn it quickly into transition, particularly behind Veltman with Marcus Rashford. It's something I point to a lot. It's a way I always suggest United should transition, but particularly against Brighton, boy oh boy, you can get at these spaces either side of the centre-backs. It's a space you can really attack. and with Rasmus Højlund potentially kind of occupying 1 or even 2 centre-backs at a time, there could really be space in behind this team where you can attack. Bruno Fernandes is a good back post runner. We know what Marcus Rashford is like in 1v1s. United genuinely could have a lot of success. Now, Brighton aren't daft, and if this is happening, they will probably shift to more of a 2-4 shape like this. We'll see Pascal Gross drops a little bit deeper. Gilmour will come in like this. And, you know, Brighton do have their ways of adjusting. When this happens, United need to do the same. United also need to adjust. Again, though, I think the adjustment is fairly basic. Once again, you keep your wingers on the opposition fullbacks. We ask Casemiro and Amrabat to be tight in these areas, but particularly we're going Casemiro on Danny Welbeck like this. We're switching to more of a 4-3-3 shape and asking Amrabat to be a bit more aggressive on Gilmour and ready to pounce out. Højlund's still just kind of forcing Brighton one way. And again, United have the potential to go man for man in most areas in the mid-block, while once again still using Lisandro Martinez tight, meaning that we have Varane and Onana as our sweeping defenders. I think it's quite a good structure, it's quite a basic structure, which United could certainly use. However, I also want United to get on the ball in this game and take the game to Brighton, so let's look at how they can do that. Now, in order to really take this game to Brighton, Manchester United are going to have to be one thing in particular, and that is bold. Brighton are a very, very good pressing side. They put you under a lot of pressure. They're very well drilled. They make life really difficult for you. United are going to have to be good. They're going to have to conquer it. But I'm done with telling United to go long ball to try and avoid it. Could it happen at times? Yes. Onana to Højlund could be really good in this game, and we'll see it a couple of times. But in terms of as a main pattern, I want United to be patient. I want United to play their way out from the back like they did against Arsenal, but with better ball progression. So what is the best way to do that? Well, first of all, we need to think, what will Brighton do? Brighton most likely won't actually initially put pressure on Onana. They'll sit off in more of a 4-4-2 shape like this, with Welbeck and Ferguson being in the front two, a little bit like this, and they don't mind the ball kind of that first pass being played. From here, typically what they would do against a solo pivot like this is piston press, and they're really good at doing this. So Welbeck will press the ball like this, Ferguson will be here, the ball goes across, Ferguson will shift across. Brighton are really good at pressing in this way. So the initial solution for United in this area is to drop Casemiro into the midfield with Sophie and Amrabat. Again, please, I hope they're both fit and available for this game. But what you do now is you make it really difficult for this front two to piston press, because now there's two players that are trying to cover behind them. Now, the obvious solution to this is to use your shadow press like this. So you have both players kind of cutting off the pass behind them, but also applying pressure to the ball. So Ferguson goes towards the ball, but he's still cutting off this pass to Amrabat. But there is one problem for Brighton in this area, and that is Onana is the best ball-playing goalkeeper in the world. And for me, Onana really will be useful in this game. But also, the fact that we're using Onana, but also dropping an extra midfielder a little bit deeper than what United normally do, you can now push the fullbacks a little bit higher, not too far. Now we have a lot of players in a deep phase build-up, which means United can outnumber the opposition and genuinely hurt Brighton in these areas. If you're now Brighton, how do you press United in this area? Because you have two players up against 5. Complete mismatch, United would win that area because Onana's so good on the ball, Lisandro Martinez is, Amrabat as well, or even if it's Christian Eriksen deeper, it still works. Now, the potential solution for Brighton is to push two midfielders further forward, really go aggressive in the press, but now you leave holes in your team. And this is where United, now with Rasmus Højlund, can go long to bypass the pressure. Could Eriksen get on the second ball? Could we then have Marcus Rashford as a runner? I do think Brighton will find it quite hard to be as aggressive in their press in this particular match, because I think if they really commit men forward, United can bypass it with the long ball and play on the second ball and the transition. But if Brighton don't commit these extra players, then I think United have too many players in these deeper areas. So if United are smart, which of course is really needed in this team, if they drop an extra midfielder in to form this line of 4 with the fullbacks, but also use Onana, I think United will be able to get out from the back. So United have been calm, composed, but importantly also bold on the ball to allow them to play their way out from the back. Now they're looking to sustain and control possession. What is the best way to break down this Brighton side? In my opinion, United should use a slightly different structure to what they normally would, and that is a 2-4-3-1 shape, with Bruno Fernandes on the wide right really coming into the game now, and Marcus Rashford doing the same on the other side. Now again, the aim here is that it's going to be difficult for Brighton to use a proper piston press in these areas because it's 2 versus 4 rather than 2 versus 3. So United should be okay in these areas. But also, if you count it, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players for United up against just the 4 players of Brighton. Now again, Brighton could be more aggressive. They could push Pascal Gross a little bit higher, drop Gilmour in, so it's now only 6 versus 5. But United do still have the spare man. and potentially Onana could step even further forward to kind of further assert dominance in the numerical overload. Probably not needed, but again, United are outnumbering Brighton in these areas, and with Amrabat, Lisandro Martinez, Dalot, real technicians in the side, United could find some ways to get through the Brighton press in this way. The more important thing though here is that because United have the extra man, you can stretch Brighton a little bit like this, and the key here is getting Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes just a little bit narrower. Now, the reason we're going to do this is to outnumber Brighton in the middle of the park. Of course, now we've created a 5 versus 3 in this area of the pitch. You might think the obvious solution here is for Veltman to go really tight on Marcus Rashford and Estupiñán to do the same on Bruno Fernandes. But honestly, Brighton, I dare you to do that. I dare you to do that because it's such a dangerous game to play, because the main reason I want to get Marcus Rashford in particular a little bit narrower in this game is to get a player in the midfield who can get on the turn. United lack players which can carry a ball, which can dribble. Amrabat, if he plays, would go some way to addressing that, but getting Marcus Rashford in these areas on the half turn, a job he done really well for England the other night. Getting in these areas, getting on the turn. In that game, he had Bellingham overlapping him to give him more room, but Marcus Rashford is brilliant dropping the shoulder in these areas. Up against Veltman, I think it's a bit of a mismatch, and it could allow United to quickly play through this Brighton team once again. What you can also do from here is also get overloads from the two fullbacks and overlaps, something we don't really see enough of all the time. But this is where United can now quickly hurt this Brighton side. It's a different structure to what I would usually suggest, but I think it could be really effective in this game to get that ball moving forward. Once United have got into the final third, they could then be a little bit more conservative, perhaps keeping Aaron Wan-Bissaka deeper to form a back three, just providing that protection on counter-attack, ensuring that United have good rest defence and therefore a good counter-press. So we could see United shifting to more of a 3-2-4-1 or a 3-box-3 in midfield. Again, I'm giving Marcus Rashford the licence to come into these areas, but we need to see rotations. Sometimes Dalot wide, Rashford inside, but also let Rashford overlap, go out wide, let Dalot come inside onto his stronger right foot. We can also see rotations in deeper areas as well. Can Wan-Bissaka step forward to allow Bruno Fernandes to come inside as Amrabat and Christian Eriksen drop a little bit deeper. This could be a really good, effective kind of rotation in the middle of the park and in the middle third. Sorry, stumbling over my words there. Because it allows Wan-Bissaka to get forward. And then as you outnumber Brighton on this last line, you can then get Bruno Fernandes in half spaces who can provide for Rasmus Højlund, who we know already is a massive threat. You've also got the 1 versus 1 threat of Marcus Rashford on the wide left, constantly hurting this Brighton team. And with the likes of Amrabat and also Christian Eriksen in the starting 11, you do have a couple of players alongside Diogo Dalot who can manage the tempo for United a little bit better. Those are the reasons why I genuinely think United could have a really good game here. Because I think there's more players in this starting 11 who are a bit calmer on the ball, who can control the tempo a little bit better. But also I think there's key tactical areas, which we've looked at today, where I think United can genuinely hurt Brighton. And that's why I've got myself a nice little 2-1 prediction to Manchester United. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. What is your score prediction? Who are the goal scorers going to be in this game? Who's going to be the hero? Who's going to be the villain? But also, what do you make of this tactical approach? It's a little bit different to what United typically do, particularly that 2-4-3-1 shape. But I really think it could hurt Brighton in this game. Let me know what you think of it though. What are the flaws to that plan? What are the good sides of it? And also, what are some other structures we could see in play? Let me know what you think, but apart from that, thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.